Welcome back. This is a legitimate question. Can the New York State Capitol actually be fixed? You know, following the latest spate of corruption arrests last week, and it took down state lawmakers, New York City councilmen, 2 GOP party bosses, and 2 Rockland County officials, and we're going to keep going here. The U.S. attorney, well, he condemned Albany's culture of corruption.
What has been perhaps most disheartening is the deafening silence of the many individuals who, over the course of this investigation and other investigations, saw something and said nothing. They learned of suspicious and potentially criminal activity being conducted in the halls of the Capitol and elsewhere, and they said nothing.
That culture he's talking about, exactly what reformers are trying to fix. Governor Cuomo, he's proposed a new measure that would require public servants who see something or hear something to say something, and if they don't, they could actually face criminal charges themselves. Elected officials could be charged with misdemeanors if prosecutors can prove they knew about a bribery or a corruption scheme and failed to report it. It would also prevent anybody convicted of public corruption felonies from ever holding elected office, doing business with the state, or serving as a lobbyist. What it doesn't do, however, is address the issue of public financing of campaigns or lobbying reform. Okay, here's the first question. We know these guys are going to talk. We know one guy was already, recording these conversations, Mr. Castro here. We know Malcolm Smith has got a spine maybe that you could detect with a microscope. This thing's going to get a lot bigger, don't you think?
I do think it's going to get bigger. But let's get to how we fix this problem, because it's very, very fixable. We need to raise the salary for elected officials.
I agree.
We need to take out their side jobs. We need to say this is your full-time job, pay them $150,000 a year, $160,000 a year, and you need to put term limits in. And that says to them, listen, the most amount of time you're going to be in Albany, you're going to be here for the next 10 years, end of story. You got 5 terms, you got whatever the case is. This nonsense of 17 terms in office where they have side guards that we know nothing about, they don't have to disclose what it is, et cetera, et cetera.
So the voters of the districts for, like, let's say Dean Skelos is,
yeah,
or where the other long-term members there, they are disenfranchised. They don't get to get their #1 pick just because, they probably been there too long.
I've agreed with you forever on the term limit stuff.
I have to.
I think it's gotten to the point in Albany where you got to do it.
And I'll tell you why, Andrew. Here's the other part, because I've never believed in this until a couple of years ago. I agree wholeheartedly with you on that. The problem is now the money culture has become. The incumbency now is so much that when you have a fundraiser, I remember when I got to Albany in 1994, an assemblyman would have a fundraiser, it'd be a $150 ticket. Low-level assemblyman is spending $500 tickets now.
But you're talking about treating a cold with a cough drop.
No,
you're talking about attacking the symptom, not attacking the cause.
Andrew, for me, Andrew, I'll tell you why I disagree. I think the most important thing is in the term limits what he said. Everyone I know, even the good ones. Right. It was supposed to be, when they built it, a 2 to 3 day a week job. Right. They worked there for 4 days a week. Time out. So if you tell me again, if you're a lawyer, who's going to retain you as counsel for that 1 day a week that you're back in district? They're only buying you for access.
Right. I don't disagree.
So what do you think it leads to? Make them work full-time and pay them more.
I agree with you both when it comes to full-time and paying them more money. But if you're saying that the problem is that there's too much money in politics, then let's come up with a public financing system. Let's come up with a way to reduce some of the pressure that relies on people getting that money in order to run for those offices.
Here's where you reach the heart of it. There are some people who seek public office, and the vast majority of them do, for the very right reason of, I want to do good, okay? If you take the money equation out of it and say, listen, we're going to pay you $160,000 a year, you know that you're going to be up there no more than 10 years, you're going to weed out the guys who say, I can't do that. And then you truly get the guys who say, I'm going there to serve. And I think you get a better quality of people.
I got to go break here, but don't you think that
I
would
agree,
be
but
and the member item stuff, you got to
I really believe with all of my heart that you're dealing with some of these elected officials that are just straight up poverty pimps. And they're crooks, and they're looking to steal. And you can pay them $200,000 a year, and they're still going to steal.
I'm going to tell you, you guys both covered it.
Take away their pensions
everything
as well.
I see.
Yes, take away their pensions. Take away pensions.
It was much different 15, even 20 years ago than it's gotten to be now.
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why real quick. I heard a story, I won't mention names, okay? I heard stories where an official from Albany going back to the early 1970s went to visit a congressman down in Washington, D.C. with a suitcase of $10,000 for a vote. We would never hear about it. If that happened today,
yeah.
I think the things that happened a long time ago happen. They happen today, unfortunately, and the culture now is we need to change it so that we say to them, you can't have all these side gigs. It's all about how much can I make off this as opposed to being a public servant.
We are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to switch gears to an issue we've talked about before and has to do with unprocessed justice. Many rape victims assume that after they're attacked, the wheels of justice turn and the cops hard at work to put the attackers behind bars. But sometimes, as we found out, crucial evidence just sits on a shelf gathering dust. We will speak to a rape victim and an advocate trying to bring attackers to justice. We'll have that conversation after this.